Okay, story time. So I get asked a lot about what was my craziest real estate transaction, and it was my own. Isn't that fun? So this is what happened. It was February 2021, and the housing market in Denver was hot. It was really tough as a buyer to get a home under contract, and if you had a house to sell while you were trying to get a home under contract, it was like darn near impossible. So I look through the MLS every single day, like every single new listing. I look through them all and I'm trying to think about like who might be a good fit for this house. And I came across this house that had been it didn't have good pictures. Okay, so tenants lived in this house. The pictures sucked because tenants don't want you to sell the house. They want to keep living there. And it was listed as 0 bedrooms, but it was in a neighborhood that I really had my eye on for a while. And it was on the market for 11 days. And so I decided to throw in a blind offer. And a blind offer means that you're writing an offer without seeing the house first. And my husband was not super thrilled when we went under contract, but we did, yay, and we went under contract without having even listed our condo yet. And I was a little bit nervous, honestly, about selling the condo because the HOA on it was $600 a month. And this was like not in a luxe part of town. It was not a fancy condo. It was a very high HOA for what it was. But anyway, we go under contract and 10 days later we get our condo on the market, and the pictures were good and it was listed correctly and we had tons of showings, and we ended up going under contract for $20,000 over asking price, which was fantastic. And things were going really smooth. There was some weird stuff, like at the inspection, the whole entire family was like, we're not leaving. For the house we were buying, they were like, we're having brunch during this time, and that was pretty awkward. But we got a roof, like the seller replaced the roof for us, which was a big deal and not happening a lot in February 2021. And we sold the condo without any issues. And then we showed up to the walkthrough for the new house. And that was when the tenants were like, hey, we're not leaving. And we were like, what do you mean you're not leaving? This is our house. We need to move in. And that is when I found out that tenants have a ton of rights in Colorado. And even if they're not paying rent and haven't paid rent for some time, they are tenants. They are not squatters. If a person ever had permission to be in a house, they are a tenant, not a squatter. And so that means that the police can't help you at all. You have no rights as an owner, which like blows my mind. You have no rights as an owner. You have to go through the eviction process. And the eviction process is time consuming and it's expensive and it sucks for everyone involved. I like 100% do not recommend this. So anyway, we go through the appropriate steps. We make sure that the tenants have received the proper notice to leave. And then once that time is up, we go and file for eviction through the court. So fun. It's so fun. And so basically what happens then is you have to wait until you have a court date. And if the tenants show up, then they can contest the eviction. And if they don't show up, you probably will get granted permission to evict them. But then you have to like wait a certain time and get the sheriff to come and kick them out. And like, who knows what availability they have. And you've got to pay for movers and all this stuff. It's crazy. It sucks. But on the day before we were supposed to have court, we get a text from the owner and he's like, hey, I think that they're gone. Come meet me at the house. And so we're like, okay, like, yay, finally we can go get into our house. And I had been really, really nervous because these people didn't like us. We were like the who were coming and taking their house from them. And I had been really nervous that they were doing some stuff to the house. Like they could be pouring concrete down the drains. Like you never know. You just never know. And these people didn't seem like nice people. So I was nervous. But anyway, we get here and they had changed all the locks, so we didn't have a key to get in. But there's a doggy door that goes into the garage. And my husband measured my 5-year-old and we convinced her, we're like, girl, you can save the day. If you crawl through this doggy door, you can let us in and save the day. And so she was super brave and she did it. She crawled through the doggy door and we were able to get into the house because these guys had forgotten to lock the door from the garage into the house. And we changed the locks and basically conquered our own home back. And so you might think that that's the end of the story, but it's totally not, because these guys were weird and they were doing some weird, creepy stuff in the house. So they like painted windows black, and there was a black candle like melted in the entryway closet. There, next to the front door, there was black witch's salt to keep the neighbors away. This creepy little rock thing with red wax in the middle and creepy eyes. There were handcuffs and chains, and it just felt icky. Like, I brought my mom in and I'm like, ta-da, this is our new home. And she was like, sweetheart, I've never said this before, but this is an energetic emergency. I'm going to get some sage. And so we saged the house and we clapped in all the corners and we made sure that all of their stuff was out. We changed the carpet. We had all the walls painted, and now it's a beautiful home and we're so happy to be here. But like, it was crazy for a minute, and there was also a lot of good learning experiences. So one would be, look for houses on the market. Like, broaden your parameters. Don't search based on bedrooms. Like, individually, it's worth it. It can really be worth it to take the time to individually go through all the listings, because you never know if a house is listed wrong. And I also would say never, ever, ever list a house that has tenants in it, unless, of course, you're selling the house as an investment property, because tenants don't want you to sell the house. They probably don't want to move, and they're going to make showing really difficult. They're not going to necessarily keep the house clean and, give buyers the best first look. And in this case, that probably cost the seller a lot of money, like beyond just he had to pay us for the time that we weren't in the house. It cost him a lot of money for how much he could have probably made if he had just gotten the tenants out first.